Dr. Stacey. Welcome to my podcast, Diets Don't Work. And today I have an amazing guest from South Africa, Gavin Marks, and his business is Play Ball Kids. The importance of physical activity, we know the benefits of that, but Play Ball Kids is about so much more than just exercise. And we're going to dive into this topic with Gavin Marks today from Play Ball Kids. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. Welcome, Gavin. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Stacey. Great to be here. Thanks for the introduction.
You're welcome. Now, we know that exercise is important. Getting kids out together in community is important. We are social beings. We do need to be connected together because, as you know, corporal punishment is solitary confinement. That's corporal punishment because we're social beings. So there is that social aspect to team sport and to playing, but there are so much more benefits. And I would love for you to share, let's start with one other benefit that may not be apparent on the surface, but is really crucial to development of children from a young age, because I know that your community is children from the age of 2 to 8 in regards to play. And I'm so excited to share this topic today.
Yeah. Well, like you say, you know, just the first one you've brought up, social. I mean, the social development side of being active with, you know, within a group, just developing that ability to deal with others. You're not always going to get your way. You know, other people are going to want things that you might not want, and it's just about that give and take and learning to deal with that. In the real world, you know, you're not always going to win, and so, you know, sometimes you've got to learn to deal with disappointment, and being in a team and being part of a team allows young children to get used to that and to overcome, you know, those type of things. Yeah, I mean, just the emotional side as well, you know, learning to deal with your emotions when you really want something and you feel you've worked really hard at it and you might not get it. You know, it's about not, you know, learning how to not give up. So many people nowadays, you know, when you're trying to achieve something and all of a sudden you've got these roadblocks in the way, you know, people tend to give up a lot easier than they should nowadays. And I think, you know, sports teams and working as part of a team helps you overcome those roadblocks and how to, you know, get past it emotionally as well. Yeah.
I completely agree. You know, in this society of instant gratification, right? If you want something, you go to a drive-through, you go to a store, it's right at your fingertips. If something's not working well, you just throw it out and go get the new thing. So having understanding and developing that, it is a skill that if things don't quite go the way you expect, if your team doesn't win that game, that's okay. And you have to be okay with it because there are disappointments in life. And, you know, just having that participation ribbon that everyone wins, well, that isn't how life functions. And so we're really providing a disservice to children with that model. So I'd love for you to share a little bit why sport is so important, even at the age of 2, because you say that you do work with children as young as 2 to 8, which is, you know, developmental times of life. So why is it important for 2-year-olds with the program that you provide?
Yeah, so you're right. Yeah, we start the children at 2. And funny enough, it's the most amazing program because you see, it's the most amazing age group because you see such huge changes in the 2-year-olds. I mean, when they come to us, you know, they're all over the place. It's I say it's like herding cats. I mean, one's down there, one's over there, and the parents are just like, you know, they unsure if their child is actually going to be able to become, you know, to be part of the program. And I think one of the most important things we set from the beginning is just the structure and the boundaries. And in this day and age, it almost comes across as, oh, that's really strict. And it's not. It's just a case of having a structure, having boundaries that the children understand, so that they know when they come to class, it's going to be the same. You've got a coach that's in charge of the class, and the children are going to be listening to the coach. And that develops as well the ability to listen and follow directions in order to do the skills. And, you know, with our 2-year-olds, obviously they're not playing sports. So it's more of an introduction to movement. And more so than just the movement, an introduction to working with other children, to kind of taking instructions from your coach and doing it, you know, doing it in a really fun and positive way, so that the child's first experience of team environment, movement, or sport is really positive. That for us is number one. It needs to be nurturing. It needs to be done in a very caring way. But you find after 2-3 weeks, the structure's there, the children know it, they on their spot, they're listening to the coach, and very often the parents are amazed at what their child is now achieving, because they've got that bit of structure in place and the children know the boundaries. And so with our 2s, again, like I said, it's an introductory to movement. And so we do skills in isolation. So, you know, they'll be doing a throw or a catch, or, you know, running on the spot or hitting. They're not doing a sequence of skills or a sport, but it's a range of different movements, from fine motor skills to gross motor skills. And it's so important for them to be doing the range of movement, because it's, you know, it's building up their core, and it's building up their shoulder stability and their hip girdles. And, you know, we spoke about this the last time. So many parents are proud of the fact that their child started walking early. Well, it's not necessarily that great. You know, you want to be crawling for a long period of time. You want to be strengthening those muscles. You know, you want their bone structure to be able to be, you know, strong enough for when they are, you know, ready to walk, run, whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's just, along with the movement, it's the social side, it's the emotional side, it's also leaving the you know, your mom or your caregiver, and taking direction, you know, from your teacher or your coach. It's that overall development that's taking place.
There are so many things that you touched on just in that little segment right there. So one thing I'll share with our children, I didn't send them to preschool. I kept them home as long as I could for the home environment and the teaching, because development that happens in the first 5 years is the foundation and the formative development for the rest of their life. Sure, they learn academic things throughout the course of their schooling, but for the foundation of life, that happens in the first 5 years. So it is very important. And I did take the children to story hour once a week from the age of 2 to 5, because that was important to me. It was important because that gave them the opportunity to take direction from someone else, the leader of story hour. It gave them the opportunity to be in an environment with other children. We do have 4 children at home, but that gave them to create friends, to learn to share things, to be empathetic to others, and to work cooperatively with others, and to share their things, right? So that instead of me, and being self-centered, but to open their mind. And then, of course,
well, that's where 2-year-olds, especially 2-year-olds, that's where they're at. You know, their whole world is mom and themselves. It is all just me.
Yes. And to broaden that is really important socially. And then reading is crucial to great development, to utilizing the brain, to utilizing your imagination, to improving attention span, and being able to get through a few pages of a book. And not only that, but neurological stimulation too. So as we get into movement neurologically, so I'm segueing into this now to your second point, neurological stimulation of the body is key to muscle tone, movement, and also expressing yourself physically in a responsible fashion. So with children and development, as a doctor of chiropractic, this is very dear to my heart, because as infants are born, they have one curve to their spine. It's a C curve. When they begin to sit on their own, not in those jolly jumpers, which splays the pelvis and loads the spine too much, it is really important for their own bodies to develop at the rate that their bodies are developing, and to not be placed under undue stress on structures that aren't capable of supporting that stress yet. So being placed in a jolly jumper when you can't support yourself is not good for the pelvis or the lumbar spine. Standing before crawling is not good, because that lordosis, the lumbar curve of the low back, has not developed yet. So crawling is also great stimulation for cross patterning, because the one arm goes forward and the opposite leg goes forward at the same time, and then it moves to the other side. And that cross patterning creates tremendous communication through the nervous system, and is so vital. So yes, I don't want children walking and running before they've had a substantial time for crawling. And the activities that you said for 2-year-olds, that is coordination. It's, you know, and again, increasing that posture. So many children now, even as I see patients come into my office and they may have their 2-year-old, 3-year-old with them, and their adjustment time isn't terribly long. And I engage with the child who may be sitting in the chair, but oftentimes parents will set them up with the phone or a game or something. First of all, interacting with other safe strangers who, you know, mom is right there, dad is right there, being able to communicate and have a conversation with that person, and to not be always distracted, is what I call it, and overstimulated, which then bombards the nervous system with those dopamine hits every time an image flashes across the screen. And I just recently saw a video of one cartoon where the segment of a scene is less than 1 second. That scene changes every 1 second. And no wonder kids don't have an attention span, because they've been trained not to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like you say, you know, all learning begins with movement. All right. That is a child's first learning capabilities. They move. They whatever the case may be, they move. And it's the beginning of their learning life. And I mean, you're talking about crawling. It's actually in our twos program, some of the skills that we do is crawling. We know the children can walk, but there's certain things that we do that we know if the child is crawling, they're developing, again, they're developing the shoulder girdle, they're crossing the midline, like you brought up. You know, it's so important for them to be crossing from one side of their body to the other, and just developing. And I think in this day and age, we're all about speed. You know, you think because your child's walking early, you know, it's great, or because now they can operate an iPhone and they can play through their app and all the rest of it. Children, you know, they're not playing like we used to. You know, they're not climbing trees. They're not, you know, running around in the garden. They're not throwing stones. They're going to school in a car or in a buggy. They're not walking, and they're not riding their bikes. And then, of course, you've got the screen time. And so it's so important that children are moving. It's so important that they're doing specific skills, you know. And like you said, when it comes to neurological pathways, developing those neurological pathways early on and getting those synapses firing, it's so important, you know, from a neurological point of view, as well as obviously physically. I mean, the whole screen time, it's you know, you just see it wherever you go. You know, it's easy just to give the child, you know, a phone or whatever the case may be, but you know, they need to learn to interact with, you know, the outside world. So yeah, I would definitely limit the screen time as much as possible.
Absolutely. And in regards to screen time, the posture that the body then has to contort to as they're on the screen. Their head is down, their shoulders are rounded. This, and there's many other postural situations. There's anterior head carriage, there's tilt of the occiput on the atlas, so much. In regards to that, the neurological hampering that does to the brain, spinal cord, and function of the body, but also physiologically to respiration, breathing, the internal organs and how they function. So when there's chronic rounding of the shoulders, that tightens all the pectoral muscles in the chest. And again, they can't utilize their upper body. They can't open up that shoulder girdle because those muscles have become so contracted. So the sport and the movements that you're talking about are so vital. When, again, yes, they're hunched and rounded, the ribs cannot expand with every breath that they take. The rib cage houses the vital organs of the body, the lungs, the heart. And when that is constricted and tight, those organs don't function well. You get respiratory issues and decreased endurance and all of that. But then also the crunched posture of then compressing the abdominal organs. So not only does the diaphragm not move down for inhalation when air is coming in, but also the abdomen cannot expand outwards on that inward breath. And everything is congested and compressed. And then you've got elimination issues and constipation and diarrhea and all these things. Now you're talking about the neck. Yes.
It just affects the whole body. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the skills, a lot of the skills that we do in our programs, depending on the age group, actually involve stretching. Now, you know, we'll have kids that come to us who do have the rounded shoulders, and so we work on specific stretching skills. Our program has been designed by an occupational therapist, a child psychologist, a behavioral specialist, a coaching scientist. And so there's so many components that although if you look from the outside, the children are having fun and they're doing sports skills and development, there's so much more going in behind the scenes. And a lot of the time what we see is children come to us and they're running on their tippy toes, or, you know, and so we do specific skills and movements where we kind of just help stretch out the Achilles and just simple little things like that. Forward rolls, depending on the age group, obviously. But, you know, children don't do roly-polies anymore. You know, they don't go to the park and do roly-polies and things like that. So those type of movements are so important for developing your vestibular system. And you know, it's a reason why you might go in the car and you might get car sick, because your vestibular system within your ears, the balance is not developed. And so a lot of the movement skills we do is roly-polies. So the children do roly-polies on a mat and they come up and they carry on running. They think it's fun. They think it's amazing. But there's so much going on in the development of their bodies.
Absolutely. And that is so, thank you very much for pointing that out. I did just want to finish a little bit about that posture with the cervical spine, with the screen time, because that compresses everything. The brainstem actually projects down into the top 2 to 3 segments of the spine. And when you have that head carriage pressing forward with that anterior head carriage and that straight cervical spine, not only is this great big weight held on by these tiny little muscles, which puts tremendous strain on the spine, but it also changes the dynamics in the curve of the spine and leads to compression of the brainstem, which is so essential to life. And so getting the posture back, helping to improve the cervical lordosis of the curve of the neck. That's just a big name for the curve of the neck. And getting that head position back, because the ear canal should line up with the point of the shoulder, not be in front of it. And jaw structure, you know, sitting like this leads to TMJ problems, craniosacral therapy, all of those things. So development with young children is amazing. It happens so quickly. They're very pliable at a young age, which means that you can reverse some of the habits that are already starting. And that's why starting early is so important. And bodies in motion are healthy, happy bodies. And it also helps to release frustration. It helps to release angst. bodies are meant to move. And if they have to sit all day at a desk and not exercise, not play, not express themselves physically, that is no wonder they're bouncing off the walls, because they haven't had the ability to release. So
Exactly.
I'd love to share some on that too.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's exactly how we see our play ball classes. We see it as a classroom environment, but on the pitch, on the park, on the field, not in the classroom. And when we go to the schools and we're delivering the program at the schools, the teachers will tell us, oh, that's what we're trying to achieve in the classroom. That's what we've been working on today. So when we show them our reports, they go, wow, that's why you're doing that specific skill. So for us, it's a classroom environment, but in a very fun, active way, because not all children learn the same way either. Not everyone can sit at a desk and focus on the teacher. And that's why they kind of get labeled ADHD and all the rest of it. They just need a place where they can release their energy, they can have fun, and they can do all these different movements that we used to just do naturally as children. Now it's become essential that children are doing these type of movements, whether it's sport, whether it's movement, and just introducing them to this type of movement early on in life. I mean, I've actually got one of our reports here, and I'll just read you a little excerpt from the reports which we give to our parents. And just a typical basketball pass. Now, this is obviously for 4-year-olds, and they doing sequences of skills. They're not playing the actual sport, but they'll do a sequence of the sports skill. And it highlights to the parents, it's good to learn how to pass because it improves my spatial awareness, which is my ability to understand distance and direction. In the classroom, it helps me with understanding sequences, shapes, and patterns. Maths is a subject where I need to be able to cope with these components. And so for every single movement skill or sports skill that we do at Playball, there's a classroom or life skill application for it. And so at the end of the term, we're able to show the parents why we've been working on a specific movement or sports skill and how it associates with their life skill development.
That is incredible, how the play is utilized practically in life and how it will further the child in their scholastic endeavors and anything that they want to accomplish moving forward. And also, I will say, a body that's been physically expressed, a body that is active, a body that has released that energy, that body is then able to focus better in the classroom, because
100%.
Now their system is relaxed. Their brain has let go of that, and now they can focus on the task at hand within the classroom, sitting at a desk and doing a task. And that's why
100%.
children on screen time, their brain is bombarded with all these images so quickly, but their body is being hit with that, but the body is never allowed to express that outwardly. And then you have behavioral issues.
Exactly.
So connecting with Gavin is very easy to do. If some of this information resonates with you, if you know of schools or communities that are interested, or if you're interested even in homeschooling and this program, then you can connect with Gavin at playballkids.com, right? Gavin
yeah, that's it.
Gavin at playballkids.com. And that is listed below this video as well. Now, Gavin, what is something else? And maybe let's jump into a little bit older age group, because obviously you don't always start with children at 2 years old and progress through to the 8-year-olds, right? You may have some coming in at 7 or 6, 8, and 8-year-olds starting with you. So what kind of variations or differences do you see there, and how is that?
Yeah. So the way our program is set up, children can join at any time. Like I said earlier on, it's been designed by professionals in the world of child development, and each program is age specific. So it's designed for the children to reach age specific milestones, and obviously with every age group that's different. You know, with our 2s, it's more an introduction to movement. With the 3s, you're now doing skills and isolation. With the 4s, it's more sequences of skills. Then with the 5s and 6s, you're now actively playing, you know, the sports skills. You're doing a range of different sports skills associated with one particular sport. So it might be hockey or tennis or volleyball or baseball or soccer or football. And that's important too, that it's a range of different sports skills. Because if you're just focusing on one sport, let's just say just soccer, you know, you're only going to be developing, mainly the lower half of the body. But the reason why we've introduced so many different sports is because you get such a big range of movement, which is important. And then with our 6 to 8-year-olds, they're actively now playing the sport. So they'll be playing mini games of tennis, mini games of soccer, volleyball, baseball, basketball, so that the children get to experience, you know, a range of different sports, so that when they move on, you know, to their next school or big school, whatever the case may be, they've had a really positive experience of a range of different sports, and they can choose, you know, where they want to, you know, head off into it. With us, it's more a case of, you know, building competence in the children, and the sport is kind of just a tool that we use to build that competence. And for us, it's about giving them the opportunity to try a range of skills, but do it in such a way that they enjoy their first introduction to sport and movement. It's so important that no matter their level, no matter, you know, their ability, that it's just enjoyable for them. You know, we're not looking for the next big superstars. We're just looking to have children really enjoy movement, so it becomes a lifelong thing that they do. You know, whatever they choose, whatever sport they choose to do.
Yes, because movement throughout life is important, because the body that keeps in motion stays in motion. And if all you do is sit on the couch and watch Netflix, then that's all that your body's going to be capable of doing. And actually, in today's market right now, people looking to hire workers, students, kids can't even shovel a wheelbarrow load of leaves, let alone a wheelbarrow load of gravel, because they're so not physically capable. They're so deconditioned physically from spending so much time sitting and immobilized that they can't even complete the physical task. So one other thing I wanted to comment on was the structure, providing structure. And when we were talking about the 2-year-olds, structure is critical. Infants, children, toddlers, young ones, they all thrive when they know the boundaries, when they can work within those boundaries, and then they know that they're safe.
Exactly.
You have children acting out and always trying to expand the boundaries or push against them, only so that they can determine what the boundaries are. But if the boundaries are always flexible and there never are really any boundaries, then the children are in chaos because they don't know where the limits are, and it's a place of unsafety for them. And that's how you see such behavior expressing itself. It's not being strict. When boundaries are provided and they're adhered to, which my husband and I were very clear on when we were raising our children as young ones. No meant no, because of whatever reason we had in place for that particular thing. And there was always a reason. I never said no. I said, you're not doing that because, and I gave them the reason so they could process that information. But when the boundaries are set, then the children can relax. Now they can play safely, confidently, and they can express themselves, and they know that they are protected because there is structure. So there's so much to be said for that, in providing that kind of structure for children, because that's where they thrive.
They do. They really do. They absolutely thrive. And we can see it clearly in our classes when especially with the younger ones, but even the older ones, even the 4 and 5-year-olds, if they're coming to us for the first time, you feel, you see them, they might not stay on their spot, and they might not listen, and they might wander off, but within 2 to 3 weeks, they realize, they might be missing out on the fun, and they might be, they might not be getting the full benefit of the class. But it's so important that it's done in a nurturing way and a loving way. You're not screaming and shouting and blowing the whistle and all the rest of it. It's just done in a very nurturing way, where you explain to the child that this is how we do it in the class, and unfortunately, if you can't do it, you're not going to be able to participate. And we really want you to be part of the class, because we can see you're going to be great at what we're doing, and you really build them up. And the minute you give that positive reinforcement, you just win them over. I always say, if you can get a child to laugh, and you can give them that structure, you've won them. You've won them over, because they love laughing. They love it when adults get hurt for whatever reason. And so it's just working with children is such a privilege and such an amazing environment to be in, because you just see those changes. You see them happening. So 100%. And like I said, when the parents come to us, they are not even aware of what their child can achieve. And after 3-4 weeks, and especially at the end of the semester, they're amazed by what the group of children and their child are actually achieving. And they can't believe at what we've been able to assist them to do. And at the end of the day, what it really starts with is the structure and the boundaries. Because like you said, once the children have those, they can relax, they're safe, and they can just blossom.
Absolutely. And it's so often and sad to see in sport, as children are growing up, parents often think that, on the ice rink, that's their next Wayne Gretzky, right? And they're so criticizing of the child's performance. Oh, you missed that shot. Hey, you need it, rather than the supportive nurturing and a positive experience, because setting that foundation of positivity within sport, of success in hitting that ball or getting to that base. And it's not about everybody winning. It's about building the skill to do the thing and being successful at it. Achieving that milestone gives them confidence within themselves, which is not just for sport, which then gives them the courage to stand up and speak in front of a class. It gives them the opportunity to do anything they want in their life, because they've come from a place of knowing that they are capable of doing that thing, and they've been nurtured in that fashion. Words mean so much. And as parenting, it's really important to choose, rather than criticize, but to perhaps explain, and to step back for a minute and not be in the heat of that instant. How about you count to 3 and collect yourself before you respond to the child? The child is learning. The child, went to stick a knife in the outlet. That's bad. Rather than freaking out and screaming, no, you say, Jane, if you do that, you're really going to hurt yourself. And I know you are conscious of the danger of them doing the thing, but that expressive no is going to startle them and scare them, and they won't feel safe. Now, you do need to nip it in the bud. You do need to not let them put the knife in the socket. But that is an extreme example. But taking a moment to then explain why, not just to say no. That just changes your communication, and it opens it up for them in the rest of their life and your life together as a parent-child relationship, so that when they are older, they do feel open to coming to you, because they know that you're going to be receptive. They know that you're going to understand. They know that you're going to support, rather than them keeping their secrets to themselves and hiding because they're scared that they're going to be criticized or, whatever the thing may be. So starting with great communication early is essential to building those foundations and relationships, to having an amazing relationship with your kids sooner rather than later. Because teenagers, dealing with the 4 to 8 year olds, 2 to 8 year olds, amazing. Teenagers,
Yeah.
that can get a little tricky.
Slightly
So start with
different.
a great
Yeah.
foundation first. Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's about, it's about a great foundation. And the earlier you can start, obviously the better. And funny enough, you bring up milestones and how parents react in certain situations, because they just expect their children, to do whatever the case may be, whether it's hockey or baseball. They just expect their child to go to Little League and then go and when the ball gets thrown to them, they need to hit the ball. Well, it's not the case. And funny enough, in our reports that we give to parents, we highlight the age specific milestone for their child. And we break the sports skill down into 6 focus points. And so with depending on the age group, you might only be focusing on the first 3 points. For our 4-year-olds, we might focus on the first 4 points. Whether they can do the whole sports skill is, if they can, that's great. But it's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the age-specific milestone. So with the 4-year-olds, it'll be the grip, the stance, the head position, and then it will be the reaction, and then the contact or release point. Whether they hit the target is not that important. Maybe in a later age group, when you're dealing with the 6 to 8-year-olds, you want the full 6 components of that sports skill. But with the 4-year-olds, we're just focused on the first 4, and we make sure we break it down so that the foundation is set. And then once they've got that, the grip, the stance, the head position, then the rest will all follow. And when the parents see the reports, we show them, this is the skill we focused on. This is what we're making sure that the child can do and is achieving. Dad might go, well, how come he's not hitting the ball? Well, for that specific age group, it might not be what we're focusing on at that point. So it's just kind of educating the parents, what the children should be doing, and to kind of give the children a bit of space to enjoy what they're doing. Because the last thing you want is having someone come down on the kid, at Little League or whatever the case may be, because that's just going to do the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. So it's important to educate the parents too. And they do, they get it, when they see the reports and they see, how we running the classes, the parents pick it up very quickly.
That is beautiful, Gavin. Thank you so much for sharing. We could talk for hours on this topic, because health and wellness is not just about the foods that you eat. It's nourishing the mind, the body, and the spirit naturally, and improving the environment that you provide for your system so that your body can adapt to the new environment and heal itself, which is the basis of everything that I do. Gavin, thank you so much for your time. We could certainly do this again. I would love to, because there is so much more for us to share on this topic. And again, if you're interested in connecting with Gavin, email is the best way. Gavin is in South Africa and marketing to all kinds of schools, preschools, facilities, utilizing children and growth and sport. And he can be reached at gavin@playballkids.com. So gavin@playballkids.com. And you will see that right below this video, as well as in the information that's provided and linked to this video. Gavin,
Stacey, I will.
Else? Yes, share anything else you'd like.
I will just jump in. So we're actually selling franchises in the US, and we've been in the US for a number of years, almost going on 20 years now. And the majority of our franchises are in Georgia, but Playball is now looking to expand. They're looking to expand into Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas. So there are franchises available. We've got an amazing program, an amazing product. I'm actually a franchise owner myself. I have 4 franchises. They're in London, but they really focused on the US at the moment. So if anyone is passionate about working with children, you're passionate about being an educator, and you want to be in a really fun environment, but something that you can be proud of. And you're looking to grow a successful business for yourself, please get in touch, because we'd be more than happy to chat.
Thank you so much, Gavin. I really am thankful to have your friendship, to be able to share this information with all of my audience. And I am so excited for children who are involved with Play Ball Kids, because this will completely change their life.
Awesome. Great to be here. Thank you, Dr. Stacey. It's been good.
Thank you, Gavin. As you can see, the dog's playing in the background.
Yeah.
Already. Play is important for everyone, including your fur babies too.
Hi friends, Dr. Stacey here. Now I want to provide you with the opportunity to join me in my 5 pounds in 5 days challenge. The next one is right around the corner. Click the link, jump in, and that's where I will share with you how you can get your health on track. Sharing and understanding how the body functions on the inside, that's my vision, and my mission is to eliminate the diabetic epidemic globally. So getting your health on track is vital to you creating a life that you love. So join us in the 5 pounds in 5 days challenge. The link is right there. You'll see it. It's either above or below. And you will then have the opportunity to step into creating a healthier, more natural lifestyle as you begin to heal your health naturally. I'm Dr. Stacey, and I'll see you on the inside.